Hello, my name's Mark, and this is the greatest show on earth. No, it's not the Ringling Brothers, it's ZooZoo! So the show is kind of hard to describe, but it's basically like one part Charlie Chaplin, one part a little bit Cirque du Soleil with kind of like we're tricking your eye, which is a term in theater where you might be looking over here and then you look back over here and something is completely transformed. So there's a little bit of mirage involved, a little bit of illusion. Crazy stuff. This show is really fun. And I think it is a lot easier to get into character when the character's energy is high and happy in the beginning. If we were doing like, Macbeth or something just like completely depressing, you've got to really just kind of lower yourself down to that, which doing that time and time again is really exhausting. This show is actually kind of fun, like you're waking up into the character. It's exciting from the beginning. So the show is just kind of like playtime, basically, for us. I think one of the best bits in this show is cats. I've just always found it really hilarious. So it's like you become a normal house cat, and then this techno music comes on, and they transform into the most like flamboyant, fun, like dancing cats, and then they transform back into normal cats. And it's just really hilarious. It's also one of the hardest pieces because it's very physically demanding, but one of the most fun. The story of the paper bag is it's one of the older pieces. It's also one of the hardest pieces to control because it's just one person inside this very, very awkward costume, basically. It's very heavy, and the challenge with the paper bag is actually not getting it to move. It's getting it to stay still because you have limited control. It's so heavy and giant, you're just in there like struggling. And like some of the other pieces, like the acrobatic, you can't see anything. The only thing I can see are tape marks on the floor and occasionally the lights on the ceiling. So all I can do is listen to the audience. And the first part of the paper bag is it follows a really exciting piece. The animals have gone into the audience, the kids are screaming, and then all of a sudden there's just a paper bag on the floor. And the first thing I do is I just listen to the audience and just lay there for as long as possible until there's that right moment where you feel like you have everyone's attention, but it's not so long that it's boring. So it's just playing with like listening to the audience and just those little moments of, has this been too long sitting here, stillness, just kind of like less is more. It's challenging but rewarding. Is there an understudy you'd like to learn the piece? No. It's rewarding because it's a solo piece, so if the audience really responds, that feels good. And it's just rewarding because it does get a lot of questions at the end. People are trying to figure out how it moves, so it's nice to have some interest in what you're doing. A lot of times people will go, who is this, who is this, who is this? And it's kind of hard to tell who's who, so it's nice to have just a solo piece. Good question. I think it's got to be a combo of things. I think the only one in the cast who came from just a strictly like normal theater general degree, like drama, comedy, Shakespeare, theater history, whatever, tech. Everyone else has different backgrounds. One of the guys was a martial artist. He had no theater. One of the guys is primarily a dancer. Other people just were straight up comedians and had no theater background, so it's all over the place. I think the best is they usually want someone with comedic timing, someone who can move and control their body, and someone who's not going to overact. It's really easy to throw the mask on and start goofing around, but it's got to be a weird combo of three things, I think. That is something people would go, I've grown up on this show. Or, yeah, I came here as a kid and now I'm an adult and I'm bringing my kids here and things like that. I think it actually is really fun for kids and adults. For me as an adult, when I hear like, oh, it's a family show, I immediately go, oh God, please no. Please don't make me go see like Wreck-It Ralph or something. I just immediately get turned off by that. But this show really is fun for kids and adults. It's one of the few shows I think out there that really is for live theater. It's always a little bit different. There could be different pieces. Each performer puts his own self into it. So even though it's the same penguin who's going to come out in the audience, it could be just a little bit different. You never know what's going to happen. I think a lot of questions we get are, do you guys study animal movements? You just like watch hours and hours of National Geographic to see how these animals move. And the answer is kind of yes and no. So I think some of the magic comes from, yes, we are moving as animals, but a lot of it is the transformation into something else. A lot of it is also, how are they moving that? Which is a huge question we get. How did you do that? There must have been like 5 people in there. No, there was just one. A lot of people think there's going to be about like 6 to 8 in the show. There's only 4 right now. So they're going, what? There's only 4? And when we come out for the curtain call and the lights come up and there's just 4 of us there, some people are kind of just like stunned and don't clap. Because I think they're going, are the others coming out? Should we wait for them? So I think some of the magic is just that. How are they doing it? And that's kind of inventive and weird. There's so many things that have been yelled at by the kids over the years. And you're on stage and you go, what? The lone penguin, it's like a game of musical chairs. At the end, there's just one left. You kind of feel sorry for him, and he's kind of sad. I guess I lost the game. And this kid just yells out, "We love you, Gary!" And so this kid had named the penguin and had built a connection to him where he really felt like he needed to be told that he was loved because the penguin's life was apparently over. So that kind of stuck with us, like if anyone's tired, just, I love you, Gary, have a good show. The rehearsal process starts off, the show's been around for 20 years, maybe more, in like, if you're considering the early, just figuring things out days and making the masks. So there's a choreography, base choreography already there. We do that first. And then, like I was saying, to really make it good, you have to put yourself into it a little bit after that. So you have the base choreography, and then you're starting to have fun with it after that. You can't do it the other way because then you're just going to mess up the entire piece and seem like you're trying to do it your way rather than the director's way. But it's a little bit of choreography. Put yourself into it, do a little bit of improvisation. Yes or no, that didn't work. We work with Jerry and Carol, of course. We do a lot of watching each other and filming each other so we can see what we're doing, just like you would in a dance company. And then there's just, in performance, you've got to see what works. I've got an entire 30-day run and still not had a piece figured out, still not figured out exactly where the laugh's going to come and what's going to work. So it's always evolving. Jerry and Carol are 2 mythical creatures that we play in the show. No, they're the directors of the theater. Jerry and Carol are very different. It would kind of be like yin and yang, or like apples and oranges, or like spoons versus forks. They also have different backgrounds. Carol has more of a clown dance background. Jerry has he had a street performer's background. He had a little more theater, a little more, I guess they both have an equal amount of tech experience, but they direct very differently. One day we'll work with Jerry and he'll go, do this, do this, do this. The next day we'll work with Carol and she'll go, who told you to do all that? Don't do that. I'll go, do this. The next day is Jerry, who told you to do all that? Don't do that. So it switches back and forth. It all melds together into something that works in the end. It's always good to have multiple opinions, I think, rather than just one overlord director. So it works well. What keeps me coming back is, of course, I enjoy the show. And it's been long enough now that the theater is like a family. I consider Jerry and Carol like family, the other performers are family. As tired as the show will make you and exhausted, when you get in front of a live audience that's responding well, that's always just a really, really fun feeling. And I'm lucky to have that opportunity. The show is, I think, highly sought after by a lot of people in Portland, and it has a very small cast. So I realized how extremely lucky I was to get into it. And then Imago Theatre gave me a chance with it. This is one of the first theaters that actually responded to me when I first got out of college and moved here and was emailing everyone. They were one of the only theaters to respond, and they gave me a chance. So I appreciate that. You know, some of my favorite memories are actually the mistakes that happen in live theater. It's just, you're never gonna forget it, right? And it's like a moment that kind of wakes you up. If you've especially just been doing like show after show after show, and it's like, we were performing at a theater in New Mexico. I believe it might have been Santa Fe. And we went into the theater, and the technical director walks up in the morning, we're about to set up, and he says, "Hello, I'm your technical director. Let's get started, I'm really excited." Takes one step, falls down the stairs, and breaks his leg. So that guy's gone. So the tech setup was a little bit weird. Things were already going good. We're performing the polar bears, which is right before intermission. And the polar bears kind of go crazy dancy. They're fun polar bears, and then they go back to being normal polar bear-like movements. We're just kind of walking in circles, and we see like lights flashing, like lightning. And then you hear like a and it's like, oh God, we kind of freeze, the fire alarm is going off. And then we hear an announcement, alert, the building is on fire. Please don't panic and exit the building, alert. And we kind of are sitting there like, what do we do? Do we just stand up and walk away like humans? And we kind of cheat and look at the audience, and they're all just sitting there. They would have rather burned to death, and they wanted to see the end of the show and would have risked burning to death. And the truth is, the rest of the pieces we just walked off stage anyways, so. Touring is awesome. Touring is really fun. It's also extremely exhausting, but it's definitely worth it. I think I'm one of the few cast members who is actually from Portland originally, and I hadn't been to a lot of other places, so touring and seeing the rest of the US was something I always wanted to do. I was really interested in like what's out there. The coolest places we've gone would definitely be France. We went there for a month. We're super lucky to go there. We most recently went to Egypt, which was also awesome. They had us doing some promotional photos, which you can see on Imago Theatre's Facebook page, of us in costume at some, mildly historic sites like the pyramids, whatever. They put me and Laura in penguins and had us ride out on horses out into this like hill to take these photos of the two penguins and the pyramids in the background. And we're just walking around on the gravel with our penguin feet going, ow, ow, ow. And it's a weird sight when the people who are like trying to normally get the tourists' attention stop what they're doing and look, and they're going, what? I've never seen that here. And the Egyptians are taking out their phones and taking pictures of us. Those are the two probably coolest and most recent. I think a lot of it on tour, you're gonna be stuck with the same small group of people for a long time. You don't have a lot of alone time. You don't have a lot of downtime on some tours if the schedule is just brutal. So you have to really learn to work with other people, get along with each other, be able to give each other comments and be professional, and still improve the show without getting on each other's nerves. It's really something that it's hard to describe unless you've been in that situation where you're just so tired, you're working super hard, but you still have to put on a good show. So that was something I couldn't have learned at probably any school or from any one person. It's just something you have to do. So touring taught me a lot. Got that extra Christmas bonus? Thinking about putting in a pool? No, you should come see this. Way more fun. probably the most interesting thing you've ever seen in your life. You're off school anyways, you might as well come, and you will grow up saying, "Mommy, I want to be in that show." It goes from December 13th to January 5th. Please, Mommy, let me see that show again. Go again. It's that unique. How'd they do that? Tickets available at Tickets West. If you're not here, gosh, you're really just not hip. You're just not with it. What? It's tight, yo.